Hey friends, Jasmine here, and you are watching the Grace Space. As you can tell, it's just me today because obviously we're still social distancing, and so no special guests. So today I just wanted to talk about the importance of modesty, or why we believe modesty is important here at Gracemade. As most of you guys probably know, we are a faith-driven brand and we really value modesty in everything that we design. So just the whole concept of the brand was really centered around this idea that we could create modest clothing that was forward and you didn't have to compromise your style. So in order for me to tell you guys why we believe modesty is so important, I have to give you a little bit about my backstory and my journey. And so a couple years back, I was working in the fashion industry, just in a completely different headspace. I was dressing really revealingly, really provocatively, and if I look at the deeper reasoning behind that, it was rooted in an idea that if I dressed more revealingly, more, provocatively, I would get more attention. And I think that message is kind of subconsciously wired in a lot of us, whether it be through media. So, we would watch the movies and the girl who's promiscuous or who dresses more revealingly, she kind of gets the guy, right? Or on social media, we see that those girls who are showing more skin, they're getting more likes, and that's what I wanted. I was kind of empty and just wanting to feel loved. And I thought that if I did it that way, then I would eventually get, the perfect relationship, whatever. I know this sounds crazy, but this was literally my thought process back then. And it didn't really get me the kind of attention I wanted to get, and it really just left me ending up feeling hurt from broken relationships, or, just feeling like broken and dirty because of the kind of attention I was getting. So anyways, fast forward, 2014, I give my life to Christ. I had grown up in a Christian home, but I kind of swayed off after moving to LA and working in the industry. A lot of different influences came in and kind of pushed me away from my relationship with God. So I gave my life back to God, and He started to renew my mind. And basically that means He just started to change my thought process, my perspective, and the way that I really saw myself. So I began to see myself with worth and value, and that I was enough and I didn't have to dress revealingly or do all that stuff to be accepted by anyone, because I had my acceptance in God. Jesus was my acceptance. I didn't need stupid boys. Anyways, so I remember one day particularly, during this process, I'm like seeking God, reading His Word, getting my mind renewed and refreshed. And I remember just feeling like the Holy Spirit was leading me to get rid of all of my revealing clothes. Now let me tell you, working in the fashion industry, you get a lot of free clothes, you get a lot of free stuff. So I had piled up my wardrobe and had so many awesome pieces. Some that I spent money on, some that were free, but there were just a lot of really cool pieces in there. But I felt Him showing me that I needed to get rid of these clothes because I wasn't wearing them for the right reason. And I didn't need to be holding on to anything from the past. And so anyways, I kind of was a little bit hesitant at first and was kind of trying to avoid it, but I'm like, no, I need to do this. When like the Holy Spirit impresses on your heart to do something, it's like if you don't obey and do it right then, it's gonna keep on like poking at you. So I got rid of those clothes, and one thing that I didn't tell you from the past too is that my idea was always to start a clothing company, but the idea around it was completely different. I was working in streetwear at the time, so I thought it was going to be like a streetwear collection, something that had like more of a rebellious attitude and feel to it and vibe to it. But then I just felt God just switched that in me and was like, you need to create modest clothing that is fashion forward and done with excellence, and that people actually would want to wear. And so that's kind of how I ended up here. So that's a little bit about my story and my background and why, how I started dressing more modestly, being led by the Holy Spirit and having to pull that need out of me of wanting to seek attention and realizing that my worth and my value was found in Jesus. So here is why modesty is important to me. One, I think it's really important to think about what kind of message we're sending with the clothing that we're wearing. How do we want people to treat us, respect us, see us? So like I mentioned before, I used to dress revealingly. The type of attention I used to get wasn't good. It was like crazy boys saying crazy things, and that's not how I want to be seen. I don't want to be seen like someone who is just out here and like ready and wanting to be promiscuous or just sending a bad message, you know? That is not my aim of my life. I want to draw people closer to Jesus, and I want to send a message of I honor God with my body and I honor myself with my body, and it's something to be respected. So think about what kind of message you're sending, and what kind of attention you really want. Do you want to be respected, or do you want people to look at you like you're the next easy thing? Another reason why I feel like modesty is important is because it's biblical. Anything that's in the Bible is a non-negotiable for me. If it's in the Bible, then it's gotta happen. So I just want to read some scriptures to you that kind of just hones in on that idea of modesty and God's desire for us to dress modestly. And let me clear this up. I don't think modesty is just for women, it's for men too, even though men don't have that much stuff to show. It's also, are you being super flashy? That kind of thing. And so I don't think this is just for the women, and I also don't think you know, there's a verse in the Bible that talks about causing our brothers to stumble, and I think it's a responsibility on both ends. You know, the woman and the man, we should honor God with our bodies and, you know, not be a distraction, but men also have a responsibility to be disciplined with their eyes and have self-control. So this is not all about women at all. So let me read you those verses.
So I'm reading out of 1 Timothy chapter 2, and it says in verse 9, "And I want women to be modest in their appearance. They should wear decent and appropriate clothing and not draw attention to themselves by the way they fix their hair or by wearing gold or pearls or expensive clothes." So in this passage, the Apostle Paul isn't necessarily saying that we can't wear gold or pearls, but he's suggesting that women should not be so consumed with drawing so much attention to themselves that they are dressing immodestly or wearing flashy things to draw eyes. The next verse is one of my favorites. It's 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 19. And it says, "Don't you realize that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit who lives in you and was given to you by God? You do not belong to yourself, for God bought you with a high price, so you must honor God with your body."
Another reason why I believe modesty is super important is because what it does to our culture. We are living in the most hypersexualized culture because sex sells, and we continue to feed into this idea by posting our bodies on social media and that kind of thing, and it causes a ripple effect, honestly. I remember traveling to Thailand last year and just going to the red light districts on a prayer walk to pray over those girls. There's a lot of girls who are trafficked in that area and all of that, and I noticed a lot of Americans down there, and I think because all of that sexualization is so normalized, it's not even a thing to go down to the red light district and to look at these girls who are, a lot of them again are in sex slavery. They are young girls who are underage who are put to work in the red light district, and you know, because there is demand, they have to continue to supply. But that's what it does to our culture, and you know, the root of that is sex and selfishness and all these other things that I don't want to even get into. But what kind of message are we putting out to our culture? What kind of message are we sending to the younger generation? And what is the end cause of us putting more of these super hypersexualized messages in our media, in our world? So I want you to think about that from a deeper perspective. Now, a place where there can be some confusion about modesty and all of that is that there is no real standard for modesty in the Bible, and I think it's because it was intended to be not a legalistic thing of, oh, your shoulders are showing, your toes are showing, that's immodest, but more of a thing of the heart. I think God looks at the heart more than the outward appearance, and he wants to know that our motives are right. So before you put on your next outfit, think about what your true motives are. Why do I want to wear this outfit? Am I wearing it because I want to get attention? You know, like I said in the past, I was dressing really revealingly, and you know, I would wear the tightest bodycon dresses, the shortest shorts, because in my heart, I knew that I was going to get attention dressing like that. And so think about what your motives are. Are you drawing more attention to yourself than you are God? And so those are all questions I would ask. Lastly, listen to your convictions. A lot of times you'll put something on and you know in your heart and your spirit, like, this is not appropriate. If you have to ask like 30 people before you put something on, you probably know that it's not appropriate. So just listen to your convictions. And so that is why I believe modesty is important. Again, these are my personal opinions. Don't at me. I'm so thankful that you guys allow me to just share my thoughts and to have this space where I can have grace to say what I want to say. Let me know in the comments about your journey. I want to hear where you're at and how you're doing. And I will see you next time on the next episode of The Grace Space. Love you. Hope you're doing well in quarantine.